This is some of the 330,000 pounds of debris that this grant hopes to remove right here in Florida. This is red drift algae. You can see it's everywhere here in Fort Myers Beach. And in just the next couple of months, new baby oysters are expected to attach to this. It's an invasive species that's thriving here in Southwest Florida. One of the things they're studying is where are these frogs going. The barge below me is an example of what the artificial reef may look like. It harbors a variety of life. All three of these sunscreens all contain it and make me dangerous for the environment. Because it's so hard to breathe right now because of this red tide, they're leaving the area until it gets better. It's the average temperature from 1900 to 2000. You can see the temps kind of go up and down over that time, but look at this. This is 2010 here, and look what's happened in just the last couple of years. Hockey is a tough sport, and it can be even tougher on your equipment.
The stick could break it on you at any time. It could be brand new, you could have it for 2 years.
Former hockey player Brett Sutton says sticks are constantly breaking. Because they're made from a carbon composite material, tens of thousands ends up in landfills every year. But FGCU took a shot with a different approach.
It's not just going to a stick graveyard, not going to the dumpster. We're actually putting it to use.
About 4 years ago, assistant hockey coach and scientific researcher Bob Wasno had an idea.
We were building these Lincoln log structures out of giant concrete pilings, and we thought, well, why don't we try to duplicate that same idea on a much, much smaller scale.
The players use the old hockey sticks to create artificial oyster reefs.
It almost becomes like an oyster condominium.
A natural way to keep our coastal waters clean. The filter feeder needs a hard structure to attach to. One oyster can filter 50 gallons of water a day. And one reef could host 400 oysters.
Which helps to clean the water and helps to make the water clearer. And so that'll help seagrasses. They create habitat. They'll filter out algal blooms.
This is one of the artificial reefs. As you can see, there are actually some dead oysters on here. That's because this estuary was filled with fresh water after Hurricane Irma. But even new life is growing inside of this one. And in just the next couple of months, new baby oysters are expected to attach to this. What started out as a community service project for the national champion hockey team is now spreading nationwide. The school is even scoring donations from professional teams.
I think it's amazing, especially the Detroit Red Wings sending sticks over to us, because that's my favorite personal team.
Champions on the ice and of our estuaries. In Bonita Springs, Devon Turk, NBC2. Well, high temperatures like today's are not typical for February. Fort Myers averages 78 degrees around this time of year, but this is what we typically see in mid-April. And scientists warn there are consequences with having such a warm winter. Southwest Florida is known for having 2 seasons, but so far this year, it's more like one.
A quarter of 2020 so far has been record-breaking warm.
With 12 record-breaking high temperatures reported between Fort Myers and Naples, it feels like summer has set in.
But even where we haven't had record highs, we've been almost 10 degrees warmer than normal, and that is also just as significant as record-breaking conditions.
FGCU's Dr. Wynn Everham tells me the warmer than average winter is disrupting animals. They use heat and moisture to determine when to migrate and reproduce.
Laying eggs when the conditions are not well for the eggs to survive. You could be hatching eggs when there isn't going to be enough food for the babies.
That means some populations could explode, others could shrink, and invasive species could be unchecked.
Our species can handle a cold snap in January and February. Tropical invasive species might not be able to, but if we don't get that cold snap, they're never going to get knocked back down.
Hotter temperatures also increase our wildfire threat. How severe that threat is still isn't known.
Because no one's experienced this before, we don't have a set path of we know exactly what's going to happen, we know exactly how this is going to work, which in a way is actually even more frightening.
Uncharted territory, with more surprises likely to come.
It's not just that February was really warm, it's that this seems to be a trend that we're likely to see.
Well, snook are a huge part of Florida's recreational fishery. Overall, the season helps contribute $8 billion to the state's economy. But scientists tell me that red tide is coming at a crippling time. It's been the summer of dead marine life.
You know, we spend our lives protecting these resources, so it's not fun to see everything wiped out and on the beach dead.
Mote marine scientists call it the deadliest red tide bloom across our coastline in a decade.
This is extremely intense. Not just in the concentration and duration, but the extent of it. You know, it's really spread.
During the summertime, snook reproduce around our barrier islands.
And this year, that coincided with a very strong red tide, high levels of mortality on mature fish, some very big snook, very important for the reproduction of the population and creating the future of the fishery.
Scientists are using the 600-foot net to catch them and research their population.
Everybody really enjoys this fish. It's one of the most popular sport fish we have in our state. So economically, it's extremely important. And it's part of the culture of Southwest Florida, too.
Crews plan to look at how many snook are still alive, their condition, sex ratio, and size. Information that will be critical in the years to come.
Next year we'll know if we have more coming back or, are they able to recover?
As they continue to fish for information, scientists are hesitant about Saturday's scheduled start to snook season.
I think that the conservative thing to do, not take any chances, would be to close the season.
I have reached out to FWC to see if they have any plans to make any changes for the upcoming snook season and whether or not they'll postpone it or cancel it altogether.